Hello, and welcome to this demonstration of the CoolSpools commands that make spool file conversion and distribution available to your end users. Now usually, most CoolSpools sites integrate the spool file conversion and distribution into their applications by adding CoolSpools commands to their programs. And while that fully automates the processing, it does take it out of the hands of the end users. But CoolSpools also includes commands that allow end users to request PDF and Excel conversion and distribution of their spool file reports on demand. System administrators can also create output queues with names like PDF and Excel and add CoolSpools configuration that allows users to request spool file conversions simply by moving a report to the appropriate output queue. So let's take a look at some of those commands on our IBM I server. Your end users are probably already familiar with the system command WRKSPLFile, which allows them to view and maintain their spool file reports. CoolSpools includes a new command WRKSPLFPDM, which has the same functionality as WRKSPLFile. You can view your spool files, you can also modify them, hold them, and release them, as you could with the WRKSPLFile command. But there are additional options available to convert the spool file to a variety of output formats, starting at option 10 to convert to PDF, and if we press F23, then we can see option 11 converts to Excel, 12 to HTML, and so on. Starting from option 20, you have the same options to convert to PDF, Excel, and so on, but with the additional functionality that the converted document is sent as an email attachment. And if I page down, I can use this query output report as an example. If I display the spool file, you can see it's a standard query report with a cover page, a page heading, some column headings, and then data rows. And if I page down, you can see there are additional page headings and column headings on each page. And if I scroll down to the bottom, there's a final line that says end of report. So if I come back out and type option 11 to convert to Excel and press enter, then this generates an Excel spreadsheet based on that spool file report. By default, that document is placed into the current user's home directory on the server's IFS. If we look at the Excel spreadsheet that's been created, you can see that CoolSpools has successfully identified where the data columns are and the column headings, and it's also output the cover page and page headings in bold to indicate that they're heading text as well. So it's done an okay job. It's also suppressed the additional page headings and column headings from the subsequent pages, but it does include that end of report line. Now the system administrators can add configuration to the system using the WRKPRMSET command to control the default conversion parameters that are used for specific reports. So for our query output report, QPQRPRFIL, we can set up a parameter set to control how that type of report is converted to Excel by default. There is a parameter set here, but it's currently inactive. I'll just change that so that it's the system default. So whenever any user converts a query output report to Excel, it's going to use the default parameters that we configure within this parameter set. And here is the CoolSpools command to convert a spool file to Excel with some customized parameters, and these parameters include settings to suppress the cover page by excluding a page that contains the text query name, and to exclude the first 7 lines of the other pages. This is the page header that includes the date, time, and page number, and also to exclude the line that includes the text end of report, so that that end of report line is not included in the output. Now that our parameter set is in place, when we run the same option 11 again to convert to Excel, The output now only contains our column headings and our data rows. The additional heading text and the end of report line are all suppressed, which gives the users a much more readable Excel spreadsheet. And now that that parameter set is in place, the additional parameters will be applied to any conversion of a query report to Excel by any user. Now let's look at the CoolSpools WRKSPLFPDM PDM options that also send an email. Option 21 is the Convert to Excel option that also sends the resulting spreadsheet as an email attachment. And when we press enter, we are presented with a screen where we can enter or select the email addresses that will receive our email. By pressing F6, we can add one or more email addresses. And by pressing F8, we can select email addresses from address directories. There are two types of address directory displayed. One is configured directly within CoolSpools, and the other is from the system directory, which is part of the operating system outside of CoolSpools. So in this case, the default address directory is one that we've configured within CoolSpools. And if I select the default address directory, then we can see that it only contains one email address. So we could select that email address in order to send our spreadsheet to that recipient. If I F12 from there and select the system address directory, then this I have much less control over because it's coming from the operating system. Let me just show you where you configure the address directories. If you use the command work address directory and press enter, there you can see that default address directory that we saw before. And in the interest of avoiding confusion, I should mention that the address directories are different to the address lists that you can also configure within CoolSpools. The address lists are email groups that you can use as a recipient when selecting who to send the email to. The address directories are just used within that selection screen as a drop-down to select one of a number of email addresses. If we take option 8 to work with the entries within an address directory, we can see that it only has that one email address. Now, there are additional options that allow the system administrator to control how that email address selection screen is presented. And that can be configured using environment variables. If we type command work environment variable and press enter, the environment variables displayed here allow you to customize how CoolSpools operates within your particular environment. And you can see a full list of the environment variables available within CoolSpools documentation. We're going to add an environment variable named cm_bypass_SLT, and we'll set that to *yes. And that tells CoolSpools that we want to bypass the initial screen and jump straight to the F8 select from address directories screen when we're selecting which email addresses to send our converted spool file to. We can also add an additional environment variable cm_SLT_SYS_DIR and set that to no if we don't want CoolSpools to allow selection from the system directory and only want to present the address directories that have been configured directly within CoolSpools. So having added those two environment variables, let's go into the WRKSPLFPDM command again. We'll go to our same query report, take option 21 again to convert to Excel and send as an email. And this time, when we press enter, we jump straight to the default address directory and just need to select an email address from the list. And some of our customers have found that it's a better user experience to bypass the initial screen and jump straight to selecting an email from the address directories. So that's something that you may want to consider putting in place on your site as well. So if we select the email address and press enter, Then CoolSpools converts the spool file to Excel as before, but this time it sent it as an email attachment. And if I open the attachment, you can see that it's a very similar Excel spreadsheet to the one we saw before, with the parameter set applied to suppress the page header and cover page. Now if we return to the WRKSPLFPDM command, there's something else the system administrators can do, because all of those options at the top of the screen are actually configurable. Using work standard option WRKSTDOPT, you can modify the default parameters for any of the system supplied options, and the modified options are highlighted here. So option 20 to convert to PDF and send as an email, and option 21 to convert to Excel and send as an email have both been modified to have additional parameters. So here we've specified the email from address and the email subject and body. And we can also add our own options that are not supplied by the system. So here we've added an option 60, which converts a spool file to PDF and delivers it to a file server using FTP. So if I take option 2, we can modify the command that's run, and here you can see we're running the convert spool file PDF command, but we're specifying additional parameters that mean that the resulting PDF document is delivered via FTP. Now we're going to look at an alternative way that you can enable access to the CoolSpools commands to your end users that doesn't involve the WRKSPLFPDM command, but allows users to continue using the system command WRKSPOOLFile, or even the work with spool file option within their 5250 client. So what we can do is we can create a dedicated output queue that's going to be used for automation, and in this case we're going to create an output queue in our demo library named PDF. Now, having created that output queue, as you can see, we can go into the CoolSpools Spool Admin functionality. We'll do that through the menu system. So go Cool Menu, then take option 4 for the Spool Admin menu. And within this menu, the system administrators can set up monitors to monitor spool files arriving in a specific output queue, and rules that decide what to do with spool files when they arrive in one of the monitored output queues. So using option 21 to work with monitors, you can see that we are monitoring PDF already. So this is the output queue PDF. And all this monitor means is that whenever a new spool file arrives within that output queue, CoolSpools is going to look to see if something needs to happen with that spool file. And if we look at the rules with option 23, then each spool file in our monitored output queues will be compared against these rules, including the rule named PDF. Each rule has a number of filters that control which spool files are eligible for processing by the rule. So you can select by user, spool file name, or user data. In this case, we're just selecting spool files that exist within the output queue named PDF. So when used in conjunction with our PDF monitor, that means that all spool files that are placed into the PDF output queue should get picked up for processing by this rule. If I page down, then you can see the command that we're running is option 20. So this is the same option 20 that you could access through the WRKSPLFPDM command, which converts the spool file to PDF and sends it as an email attachment. Underneath, we've customized the command parameters that are used slightly. So when this rule is run, the email is sent from an email address no reply, and it's sent to an address list named management. And remember the difference between the address lists and the address directories that we saw earlier. Now, whenever the system administrator creates a new spool file monitor or modifies one of the existing spool file monitors, they'll want to end and restart the background jobs that process those monitors. So you can access those commands from this menu. Option 32 ends the spool file monitoring, or you can run the command ENDMONSPLF. And to restart, take menu option 31 or run the command STRMONSPLF. And you may want to add those commands to your system shutdown and startup routines if you are using the spool file automation. Now that the system administrators have created that output queue and put the monitoring in place using CoolSpools SpoolAdmin, all the end user has to do in order to convert a spool file to PDF and deliver it as an email attachment is move an existing spool file into that PDF output queue. So if I move that same query report we looked at earlier into the output queue PDF and press enter, that's all I should need to do in order to convert that to PDF, which makes it really simple for the end users to request conversions on demand. Now if I go back to my email inbox, you can see we've got an additional email arrived, and if we look at the attachment, then we can see that it's a PDF document that's been created using that same query report that we converted to Excel earlier. And so, as you can see, with just a small amount of configuration from the system administrators, you can empower your end users to convert their spool file reports to PDF and Excel and to deliver those documents as email attachments with ease. I hope that this has been a useful introduction to how CoolSpools can be used by your end users. You can find more information about the commands that we've looked at in this video and the rest of the CoolSpools application at our website www.coolspools.com.